Hey everybody, I'm Dan McClellan. I'm a scholar of the Bible and religion, and the fit for this video is the reign of the Superman. Let's take a look at a video.
Contradictions in the Bible. Are there any? No, but in this video I'm going to look at what a contradiction really is, because honestly most of the ones that people bring up don't even fit the definition of a contradiction. And then I'm going to go through 5 most common so-called contradictions that atheists or Muslims bring up so that you can know how you should respond to them.
Alright, let's see it.
Let's dive into it. So firstly, what is a contradiction? It's where it says one thing over here and then the opposite thing over there, but it must be relating to the same time and spoken about in the same sense.
So this is an odd way to define contradiction. If you look in dictionaries, you'll actually find multiple different definitions for contradiction because it can be used in a variety of different ways. And the notion that it is specifically a proposition and then the negation of that proposition is a pretty narrow and partial definition, but I can see the rhetorical value in defining it in that specific way because that limits the number of things that could actually qualify as contradictions, and it reduces the amount of work that apologists have to do. But let's take a look at the first contradiction covered in this video. We'll cover the other ones in other videos.
Number 1. How many angels were at the tomb? Matthew and Mark says an angel appeared at the tomb to the women, while Luke and John say that 2 angels appeared. Is that a contradiction? No, because one was not negating the other. Matthew and Mark were simply choosing to focus their attention on the one angel, while Luke and John were including more detail and recording about the other angel who seemed to have a lesser role. It would only be a contradiction if it had said there were not 2 angels that appeared at the tomb. Only then would it be a contradiction.
So this flatly misrepresents what's actually in these texts and also entirely ignores numerous directly contradicting details. For instance, when we look in Matthew, the women come to the tomb. Suddenly there's a great earthquake. An angel is descending from the heavens, rolls the stone away from the mouth of the cave, sits on it. The guards fall down as if dead. The angel tells the women, "Don't be afraid. Go tell the disciples," and so on and so forth. The women leave. Matthew never mentions the women ever entering the tomb. They only encounter the angel outside and then leave. Mark begins with the women coming to the tomb wondering how they're going to move the stone away. They look up, the stone has already been moved away. They enter, they don't see Jesus' body. What they do see is a neaniskos, a young man sitting on the bench on the right side. The young man inside the tomb tells them, Jesus is not here. He has risen. Go tell the disciples and Peter, and so on. When we go to Luke, it starts off much the same way. They show up at the tomb. The stone has already been moved away. They enter the tomb. They don't see Jesus' body. And then it says, suddenly there were Andres Dio, 2 men standing next to them in dazzling clothing. And the 2 men tell them, go tell the disciples, and so on. John, the women show up at the tomb. The stone has been moved away. They run off to tell Peter and the beloved disciple, who then run back to the tomb. The beloved disciple looks in but does not enter. Peter rushes into the tomb. The 2 of them notice Jesus' body is not there. They go off to their homes. Mary is left weeping outside the tomb. Mary looks into the tomb and sees 2 angels sitting on the bench where Jesus' body should have been, and they ask her what's wrong. So these are 4 different tellings of these events that are irreconcilable. The details of these 4 tellings cannot all be true at the same time. Now, normally, when you want to get rid of a contradiction, you gin up imaginary scenarios that are not in evidence so that you can create the reality behind the tellings of these stories in a way that allows the different tellings to all be true. And this is a bad faith effort to begin with that frequently has to retreat to just arguing that it's not impossible that all of the details are true, which demonstrates what's going on here. This is just apologetic attempts to try to gin up the tiniest little sliver of, hey, it's not impossible, so that people who already agree with you can feel validated in agreeing because, hey, at least it's not impossible. But you cannot gin up the reality behind these stories in a way that can make all of the details be true. They are contradictory.